Fighting rages on in Sudan, with millions of people either trapped in the war-torn country or fleeing to safety. It's now a third week of intense fighting between the Sudanese government army and the paramilitary rapid support forces. The United Nations says it expects at least 250,000 people to cross into neighboring countries. eNCA correspondent in Sudan, Naba Mohiedeen, joins us now live from the capital, Khartoum. Thanks for your time, Naba. I hope that you can hear me. Let's just start off with what the latest is on the conflict and which areas are the most and worst affected. I'm sure where you are in Khartoum, it's quite affected.
Actually, yes, Khartoum is still under fire, and there is fierce clashes in the capital Khartoum right now around the presidential palace and the military headquarters. There is heavy weapons used and also airstrikes. People are frightened, but most of the areas surrounding the presidential palace and the military headquarters, people have already evacuated forcibly or also because they are fearing their lives and livelihoods. Khartoum right now is not empty, but the majority of people left it. And now there is other risk, which is the security situation with the absence of law and order and the absence of police. Right now there is looting of houses, institutions, main markets, gold markets, banks. So the situation in Khartoum is deteriorating, whether it's security situation, health situation, and humanitarian situation. Those are still in the capital Khartoum. They are suffering from the lack of services, including power outages and water shortages for long hours. Sometimes it's for 3 days, sometimes it's more than 22 hours. So the situation is really dire regarding services, regarding security, humanitarian and health situation, where many streets of the capital are still full of dead bodies that have never been evacuated by authorities. So the situation is dire and deteriorating, and it's still uncertain in the capital Khartoum. And other areas are in Darfur also. Al Junaina, West Darfur, is witnessing fierce clashes too, and many people fled the war zone in Al Junaina and tried to reach Chad. So the situation in the whole capital is uncertain. There is a state of emergency in the whole country. And the fighting in Khartoum is affecting the services outside Khartoum, because most of the businesses and services are Khartoum-centered or capital-centered, as it's the business hub for industrial factories, for medicine, for food, electricity, telecommunications. So the situation is really deteriorating every day.
It sounds really tragic and devastating. The fact that you say many streets still have bodies, it's rather worrying. I want to speak about the fact that there was a 72-hour ceasefire declared this week. That fell apart. It seems as though it didn't even start to begin with. We hear about a possible extension of the ceasefire. What can you tell us?
Yes, actually there is announced ceasefire by the two warring factions in the country, but the problem is how they will respect the ceasefire. The ceasefire seems to be falling and falling all over again, or failing, as we can say, because it's a real failure from the two sides. Whenever they announce a ceasefire, we see many casualties, many people got killed, robbed. So the ceasefire is really not working, and it's not respected by the two sides, despite their assurances for the international community that they will respect it. The ceasefire also hindered evacuation operations many times in the first days of the war. It hindered evacuation efforts for French nationals, and actually one citizen was shot. And also 2 days ago, there was an aircraft targeted, a Turkish aircraft was targeted by the shooting. So the ceasefire is not really working, and it's hampering all of the efforts for humanitarian aid, and it's hampering all of the efforts for a peaceful solution, because that means the two sides are not respecting what they are saying, and they are not respecting all of the pacts and international pacts regarding preserving the citizens and livelihoods of people.
Perhaps just tell us, Naba, what exactly is at the heart of this conflict? I mean, many people looking at the situation going, what on earth sparked this? I saw some videos on social media saying, you know, a couple of weeks ago, Khartoum was such a beautiful city and everybody was just living their lives as per normal. And suddenly there's this conflict. What is causing all of this? What is at the heart of it?
There is two scenarios about what is behind this conflict. The first scenario is the seeking of power by the two generals. The military is ruling the country for over 55 years through different coups, through political fronts. So the military used to be the governor of the country for many, many years in different parts or in different areas of Sudan. We had very short-lived transitions, very short-lived democratic periods. So maybe it's a power conflict. Regarding the RSF, it's a new player in the Sudanese political scene, and it was formed by the former leader of Sudan, Omar al-Bashir, as a paramilitary troops, and it was used in the war in Darfur. These troops right now are so powerful, and there is more than 100,000 fighters. And the first man of this troop, which is the commander, is the second man in the country. He is the deputy of the Sovereign Council. So maybe it's a power conflict, especially that there is a lot of indicators showing regional interference in this war and regional interest and conflict about Sudan. Sudan has a strategic location. It has geopolitical advantages regarding the Red Sea as a footstep for Africa. We saw also competition between Russia and US about Navy bases in Port Sudan. We saw a lot of interest in northern state, gold mining and gold smuggling for Russia. So maybe it has other dimensions more than just a normal fighting. What escalated that fighting is it was war of words, and then it was morphed into clashes. We were hopeful that it will end soon, but whenever it's longer than it's expected, that means the fighting may be prolonged, and maybe it will be an arena for bigger conflict by other countries, regionally and internationally.
Very worrying. Just lastly, Naba, I know you briefly spoke about the humanitarian crisis and situation on the ground, but I'm curious to know what it's like for those trying to get out of Sudan. Is it an easy process, or is it very difficult to reach for safety?
Actually, it's really difficult, and it's a lose-lose situation. The people who are stuck in the capital is still stuck in Khartoum. They are losing any possibility for safety. And the people who are trying to take the risk and take the safest routes, they are also risking their lives and livelihoods, because there is a lot of robbing, looting, robberies, looting, threatening of lives, killing in the streets, not only in the clashes areas or hottest spots in the capital. So it's really difficult process. It's really expensive to get out of the capital. If you want to get to 100 kilometers out of the capital, you will pay a lot of dollars, like hundreds of dollars, to just get out of the war zone. So it's not an easy decision, and it's not an easy process, and it's not even safe. Right now, while I'm talking to you, there is more than 10,000 Sudanese people are in the borders of Egypt trying to have an approval or visa in order to enter our neighbor Egypt. The authorities have already provided them with a lot of help, but it is still, the need is bigger than what is on the ground and the suffering. People are waiting in long queues, old men, pregnant women, children, so it's really difficult. They are stuck there for over a week with lack of food and water in the borders. In other areas also, people who are trying to flee through Ethiopia or Eritrea or South Sudan, they are also suffering the long and unsafe routes, the expensive trips, And what is really challenging for people, they just left without even taking money with them. The banks were closed on Saturday when the war started. They had very, very short sources, so it's really difficult, and a lot of people died in the roads out of the capital, Khartoum.
Very distressing situation out there, and we also ask for you to be safe out there. Naba, thank you for that in-depth update. That is eNCA correspondent in Khartoum, Sudan, Naba Mohiedeen. Thanks for speaking to us, and we just hope that there could be some stability brought to that very volatile situation.